All right, so we're going to look through this for those of you that have struggled with this down the river project. I'm going to review it one more time. So first things first, let's look at what we've got. All right, so when the green flag clicks, the boat should stop in the top right-hand corner and start moving on its own, right? Whenever it touches the green, which would be the bank, all right, it should stop. So now, as you can see, I've added these like little areas right here, the gray. All right, when it touches gray or whatever color, is going to go to the next backdrop. Now let's see if I can actually do it to where I finish this, okay? All right, and it should go through each backdrop until it reaches this third one. It hits that black line and then it says winner. Now if you're struggling with this assignment, I'm going to walk you through it step by step. All right, so first of all, I'm going to go here. This is what it looks like. Yes, you could stop right now, look through that, and try to get it, but that's not going to help you for the test. All right, so I'm going to walk you through exactly what we're going to do. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to leave. It doesn't matter if all of that's saved or not. What matters now is I'm going to walk you through this entire process of creating this project. I'm going to kind of rest myself up here at the top. We don't need the cap, but what we do need is we need 3 backgrounds that look like a river and 1 that's the winter page, and we need a boat. Okay, so I'm going to start with the easiest one, boat, and I actually used for this one, I use a stock sprite, which is a boat. All right. Now, as I told you before, these little spires that come off the top and the front, all right, they kind of get in the way. So I'm going to go here under my costume, and I'm going to choose my erase tool. I'm going to delete those down. Now, if this is too big, you can change the size of your eraser here, all right, so that you don't lose a lot. Now, you want to make sure you don't leave any spots, because even though, right, if I were to like leave and say I barely leave this little piece right here, that's still going to get in the way. If that touches anything in the green, it's going to mess us up later. Okay, so there we go. We've got our boat. Now I'm going to go here and I'm going to use my paint option. And you can see I've already got 2 backdrops here. All right, so what I want to do, I'm actually going to delete backdrop 2, and I've got backdrop 1. First things first, I would like to, all right, I would like to convert it to a bitmap. Remember, if you try to use the paint bucket and I start clicking, nothing's happening. But as soon as I convert it to a bitmap, it allows me to do it. Okay, now we're going to want the majority of this to be green. All right, and while we're at this point, I find it easier because we want the greens to be the same way throughout, is I'm going to just duplicate this, all right? And the last one I might go ahead and change to a black color, and I'm going to use the text option. Now to change the color of my text, I just simply choose up here, all right? I've got text selected. I click, and you can see there's a little blue rectangle pop up, and I want to type winter. Now, if I want to change the size of it, right now that I've clicked off, you can see it's not, that's kind of how that works. So what I want to do instead, I'm going to hit Control Z. I'm going to do that one more time until it pops up, and now I can easily adjust this, all right? And that is my backdrop 4. Now I'm going to go back to backdrop 1. I'm going to use my paintbrush. Remember, it is very important. You're going to start from the gray. You're going to go across, start in the gray, end in the gray, and then fill that in with the paint bucket. Now, remember, if you don't start, say you start, you think you're in it, but you're good, you got to use that paintbrush tool, and you're going to fill in that whole side. It is very important when you do that, that you fill in the area properly. And then lastly, all right, we're going to fill that. So we've got our 3 scenes, we've got our boat. All right, and I want to start with this one here. You can actually see right here, if you look inside my circle, there's a place on here that is not deleted. So I'm actually going to go back. I want to make sure I get that. Couldn't really see it on here, but you could see it there. I want to make sure, first of all, I'm on the code for my boat. You're going to see that by where in this top right-hand corner here, it shows the boat. Like most projects, we're going to start when the green flag is clicked. Now, I don't need the size to change a lot every single time, so I'm going to just change my size settings over here. I'm going to start with 50 right here, and that should work for this project. So I'm going to say when the green flag is clicked, I want, first of all, it to go to this top left-hand corner. So I'm going to say go to. Now, we know automatically we need the boat to move, but if we were to do it like this, that's all we're going to get. That's all we're ever going to get. It's going to go to that spot, and then it's going to move 10 steps. We need it to move continually or forever. So we're going to say forever move 10 steps. So now we've got this. Okay, well, it's going to forever start there and then move. Well, we kind of want the boat to start moving down the river. All right, so I want to tell it to point in direction. So it's going to now go to that position and it's going to point it down the river. Or in this case, it's kind of more like this angle for you guys. All right, so there we go, boat's moving down the river. Now we can add our controls. We're going to say, all right, well, now if we press the left arrow, we want it to turn left 15 degrees. When we hit the right arrow, we're going to want it to turn right. Okay, simple stuff here. So now we got a boat that moves and turns. Okay, easy enough. It moves quite fast. If we want to change the speed, just change the size, the number of steps. So now we'll have a boat that's a little bit slower. Okay. Now, if your boat rotates funny, I'm going to show you that really quick. Right here under costume, remember, you're going to select it all. All right, if I were to put it way to the side like this, all right, now you can see not only does it not show it all, but if I try to rotate it, you see how it's making those big gaps? We don't want that. So we're going to kind of, and you could kind of do more something like this. And you'll notice it kind of rotates all around the tip of that. That's because this is the point at which it registers everything. So I want that kind of in the center there. You can see that. Now, if I want it a little off center, sometimes it helps a little bit. You can see it'll turn. It's glitching a little bit because I'm recording right now. But so there we are there. Now, the next thing we want to do is you want to tell it, hey, if you hit the land, the boat shouldn't keep going. We want you to stop. So we're going to look for that. We're going to say, well, we've already got a forever block, meaning it's going to check continuously. So we're going to say if. Well, if we're coding the boat, so if the boat touches the land. So touch, one of your five senses, you're going to say if touching color, because the grass is or the land is represented by green. It's not that color green. We want to get our exact shade of green. So where the cursor is, you're going to click on it and you're going to choose this eyedropper tool. You're then going to go over here and choose that green. That is why the color of our greens being the same on each background is so important, because just a little bit of a change will throw it off and not cause it to work. But what we want to tell it to do is to stop all. So when we click this now, if it touches the side there, the boat stops moving. Now, the next step, we've got four backgrounds we want to enter, kind of go in between. What we want to do is we're going to go to our backdrops. And we're going to use our line tool. And for the sake of this, for the first one, I want to use purple. So I want to click and I want to drag and I want to add that purple line. And while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead, go to backdrop 2, and now I'm going to change the color. All right. And I'm going to add that line across the bottom here. And I'm going to do that on each 3 of these backgrounds. And I'm going to do the kind of a reddish pink color there. And because this is our last background before we switch over, I'm going to add text here that says finish. Now remember our trick from before, right? Once we click off of it, hit Control Z, it allows us to go back in here, and now we can kind of turn this and make it bigger or smaller as we need. All right, so now we have our 3 backdrops, or our 4 backdrops. All right, and now let's go back to our code. Now, we're not right now on the code for our background, so we want to make sure we go to the code for our boat. Now, we're just going to do the same thing as we did kind of right here. We're going to say, well, if instead of touching the green, we want something to change, we're going to say if touching color. And for the first one, we're going to say if touching the color, and it's this purple. All right, if touching the purple color, we simply want it to switch backdrop to backdrop number 2. Now, this is where it kind of becomes trial and error. So automatically, we've got backdrop 1. We touch that color, it goes to backdrop 2. Now, if you notice, it doesn't change the position there of the boat. We want the boat to start. Oh, still running. All right, we want to click and drag. We want the boat to start up here. So we're going to click and drag our boat. Where grab it? We're going to say, all right, we want the boat to start there. So we're going to use our go to block. So we're going to say when it switches to backdrop 2, go to this position. Now, if you notice, we're still stuck on backdrop 2. So that just means we got to use our brain and say, well, when the flag is clicked, we want it to switch or to start on backdrop 1. These are little things that you kind of can notice as you go. Now that we've got that, it really becomes a matter of it being easy. You're going to pull this out, right click, duplicate, And now instead of using that purple color, you're going to use that eyedropper to choose that blue color. And then you're going to drag and drop both of these in there. And now, instead of it, actually pause, instead of it being backdrop 2, we're going to say backdrop 3. So when the flag's clicked, starts with backdrop 1, the boat's moving. All right, we can control with both things. Now when it switches to backdrop 3, we want to tell it, instead of going to this position, we're going to say go to, pull that go to block out, add the new one in. Now we're going to repeat the process one more time. We're going to click this, right click, duplicate. And instead of saying choose it, we're going to choose our color. And our new color is going to be that red we have there for the finish line. And we're going to say switch to backdrop 4. And we'll go from there. Okay, so we plug that back in. We hit play. Now the boat is moving. We got through backdrop 1, back through backdrop 2. And now if you notice right here, we want to tell it went to the right place, but just to make our lives easier, we want to tell it the direction to point in. We want to tell it to kind of point up the river there. So as we work through, as you can see, some of this is just simply trial and error, find what works. Now when it touches the finish, it says winner. Now you can see the boat's going to be moving around, kind of annoying. So the easiest thing to do is say when it switches to backdrop 4, hide. And if you use the hide block, you always want to use the show block. So what you'll notice, the final step here as we go through is to make sure we like how it finishes. When it hits finish, it disappears, game over, we're done. All right, if you have any questions, feel free to leave a message on this in the Google Classroom. All right, that is where we're at for today.